the Albert Dock. It was a lovely hot summer's day, and I skipped out to work for half an hour. And laying outside the Albert Dock basin was 3 of the boats from Conway, and I thought, bloody hell, we've cracked it, another 3. And then I went down the next day, and there was another 2. And there they were. It was a lovely, God, it was absolutely gorgeous. The river was like a bloody mill pond. And there was 5 nobbies we hadn't had last year. We got them this year, and I thought, cracked it. I said, we're up to 11 then. I knew we were up to 11 in numbers. There's not 40 nobbies left on the coast of Lancashire or about. We very much doubt it, because they're old boats and they're just not about anymore. And I thought, well, it's got to be good now, because you never know till the last, well, we didn't know till the last day whether they were going to turn up. And I could smell the egg and bacon coming off the river. They were cooking egg and bacon, and I thought, bloody hell, love to be down there with that lot.
There isn't enough wind for us today. There isn't enough wind for us all today, but we're all in the same boat.
But does it favour the smaller boats?
Well, it does favour the smaller boats, naturally, because they're not as heavy, you see. Puts me in with a chance.
So you might retain your crown?
We might do. We just might.
Who would you think is your principal opposition?
Well, if the weather stays like this, it's got to be the smaller boats like the Maine, or the Mamie down at this end, or the Falcon. The Falcon's a nice on the little boat there.
It's you and your boat against him and his boat. And there's rivalries, there's small rivalries between Liverpool crews, in actual fact. I'm sure my brother would be the first to admit, give him the greatest pleasure would be to beat everybody from Liverpool. Because these rivalries don't go back 5 years, they go back 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. And of course, if you can beat them on the day when everybody starts off fair and square, you beat them, haven't you? It's as simple as that. You've cracked it. It's not like one's got off to a different start. All fair and square.
So what I suggest, really, to the skippers is, we all sort of line ourselves up over there, ready for going out. Yeah. Listen, right, okay? End on with your cloth up.
Last night's get-together finally ended at 4 a.m, and before this morning's pre-race briefing, it was a necessary hair of the dog for some of the participants.
You'll find outside as you go out to start the race off, you'll find the big red fishing boat outside for the start of the race, which is outside the museum. All the skippers have to keep their eye on the flag.
Which is the line? Between the flagstaff and that fishing boat?
Yes, between the flagstaff and the fishing line.
Right.
Now, when you see everyone be there watching, and I don't want anybody calling you up on the radio.
Now,
I want the radio
there's one other
kept
thing, John,
clear.
by the way, but where's the skippers over this? We've got a sandhopper outside,
Yes.
and if the boat's kept inshore of her, she's got damn boys out. Keep inshore of her, because with no wind and the tide, you'll end on her. So keep inshore of her. Plenty of water.
Yeah. Now, as soon as you
Inshore of the sandhopper.
after the line.
Are you satisfied? You might get us on the beam, yes.
Yeah, but you won't get much.
So it's not a triangle course at all? It's
No,
straight
no.
What time's the lockout?
The lockout is 2:30, and believe me, gentlemen, when you go out there today, you go, because you're going to need it. And when you get your sails up, you're going to find out. Well, I'm sorry, Michael, but I've sailed that river quite as long as what you have, and you need all the help you can get. The nobbies are going out first, followed by the power boat.
All the boats came out of the dock system, straight out into the Mersey, and that was, for some of them, actual fact, that was the first time they'd actually had time to put the sails up proper, which is a fact in actual fact. There was 2, 3 or 4 boats that never tried the sails out. Michael, funny enough, was one of the first away. They timed it to perfection. They were all off down the river, very, very little wind in actual fact, all down towards the Garston Buoy. Now, Michael was well in the lead at this stage. He had a big genoa up and his new mainsail on, and it was so far in front, it was unbelievable. And I thought, bloody hell, he's cracked it here. There's no way they're going to get caught now. And they got down to the Garston Buoy, and we actually came alongside, not far from the Garston boy. He was so much in the lead that Harry Bloomfield was second at that stage, and Michael was smiling. They were all laughing and joking and all drinking a can of beer, and life was so pleasant at that stage. And then they just came round the boy, and Harry Bloomfield was catching him just a bit by then. Very little wind to start with, but when they got down to Garston boy, the tide had started to turn and the wind picked up, and for some unknown reason Michael drifted away from the boy, and he sort of couldn't beat up to windward at all, which in actual fact is coming up sailing on attack. And Harry Bloomfield cut on the inside of him, because Harry and the Falcon, funny enough, were one of the few boats that had the topsails up, and they were really motoring at that stage. The Falcon, which Ken Warburton was in, Ken Warburton actually beautifully round the boys, just swivel round the boy, and he was away on attack. Michael just seems to be not doing at all, and it looked like he was drifting back in actual fact. And the sails they'd had made, they were just too long this particular stage, and Michael had put it up and taken the stay down on the mast. Well, he'd used the top block for putting his genoa up. Well, the genoa was no good then for the tactical part of the race. Now, Eddie Lee was at least 20 minutes behind all the others. His tactic was, in actual fact, to come down the river very, very slowly, wait for the tide to turn and get the tide to take him back. Anyhow, he overtook Michael then, and the field of the boats was strung out everywhere, all on different courses. It was very, very hard to judge who was in the lead at the time, and it was just tactics then. From one, you could at one particular stage, even the May. Now the May, that's David Wilson's boat, the May, the black boat, and she'd had new sails, and she was only being brought into the dock the day before the race. Now she had a girl as a skipper, in actual fact, Carol, his daughter. She had done particularly well. At one stage she was second in the race, even overtaking Harry Bloomfield, and there was one last tack to the actual finishing line, and it was touch and go who it was then, because Harry Bloomfield, in actual fact, was in front of the Falcon at that particular stage. But there was a dredger which is moored in the river, which wasn't far from the race, and I said, whoever comes round the head of the dredger will win the race, because the person who comes round the stern of the dredger has got to do another tack. And the Falcon came round the front. As he came round the front, Harry Bloomfield come round the stern, and I said, the Falcon's got to win it. He's got to, because Harry had to then tack across his bows and come back in again. There was only 42 seconds in actual fact between Ken Warburton, who was first in the Falcon, and Harry Bloomfield in Comrades, which was second, which isn't a lot of time when they've been racing for 2.5 hours. And Harry's had the edge on Ken Warburton for the last 3 or 4 years, so it must be a time for Ken Warburton to have the edge on Harry Bloomfield. Harry does not like it one bit, but it's got to be accepted that the fact is he got beaten on the day by a better boat and a better crew.
In This England next Friday at 10:30, you can meet the Challengers, a young gospel group from Manchester.